So I think a lot of millennials probably need to make peace with the fact that a lot of us could possibly not be grandparents. And I don't know about like other people's kids of how they came like to their conclusion that they did not want to have children, but I know that for my daughter, why she came to the conclusion that she didn't want to have children is because I think that as millennials and Gen X and boomers need to understand that um TikTok started off as a kids app, right? They watch it for the dancing. She's into like the what's that stuff called? Gotcha Life. Gotcha Life. It's like manga or something like that. Anywho, I don't know what it's called. But she watches those different little TikTok pages and then of arts and stuff like that. But then the algorithm also showed them like red pill content. It showed it to my daughter's algorithm, like FYP, and also to my son. And so for her, she was just like, it's completely nonsensical. She listened to some of it and she was just like, she runs across like the what we call the pick-meshas that are like, oh, marry before you carry. And she's like, marry before you carry doesn't prevent a person from being a single mom. Because for her, she's like, my parents were married and my mom is a single mom. Right. And then not only she was like, not only were my parents married, my parents were married. My mom is a single mom and my dad is absent. So marry before you carry does what? Right? And then she's like, and then they'll say, oh, well, you have to choose a guy who does this, a guy who does that, a guy who does this. She's like, her dad was from a two-parent home, right? Her dad didn't have any kids. Okay, like literally his first child is my oldest son, and she is his second child. And she really doesn't like the rhetoric that she came across that because she is raised by a single mom and because her brother was raised by a single mom that they're inferior, like they are subpar in some way, that oh he's not masculine, or oh you don't know what to do with a man because you weren't raised with a man, and all of this different stuff. She's like, why would you put a child through that if they're gonna just be blamed for the household that they come from, something that they have no control over. Then she also said, she was like, and then you have the content that's like, oh, um, on the one hand, black women are stupid and uneducated. On the other hand, if black women get education or they're intelligent, then they are less appealing to men. Men don't want them. She's like that. That's a conflicting message that doesn't make sense. And then she was just like, and then they don't want women that out earn them. But then they also want women who earn enough money to help them pay 50-50 because it's expensive in this economy. Like, she's just like, it doesn't make any sense. So she was like, why would I want to have kids in a world that doesn't make any sense? She's like, it just seems like you're going to get scrutinized for it. And she said, and it doesn't seem that people appreciate you, right? She was like, I'm going to be a black woman one day, and we're literally dying dying in the OR, or dying in labor and delivery. Why am I going to risk my life to have a kid in a society that obviously does not appreciate children or the people who bring them to this world? She's like, I'm just not going to do that. She's like, then it's just the fact that society expects the woman to do everything for the child, and they don't expect the father to do anything for the child. And then she was like, and if you say something, oh, he needs to do A, B, C, and D, now you're the problem because now you're a bitter baby mama, or you're like a nagging wife. She's like, I don't want to do any of that. She's like, it seems very stressful. It seems nonsensical. And she was like, and it just seems like a situation that you can't win. She said, as for now, I don't want to have any kids. She said, if I ever, ever, ever did decide to have a kid, I would have a kid solely for me, not to have anything to do with the father, not to have to do with anybody. She said, if I decide to have a kid, it will be because I really, really want to have a kid. If that feeling never hits me, she said, Mom, I won't have no kids. I won't have any kids. She said, because it just doesn't make sense. None of the stuff makes sense. And the reason why she said that she'd only have a kid if she really, really desired to have a kid is because she said that if anything goes wrong with the kid, right, when the kid grows up, she's going to be blamed for whatever happens with the kid. She was like, no one ever blames like the man for the kid not having high grades, or the kid going down the wrong path in life, or the kid, not doing what society thinks that they should do, they're going to blame the mom for it. And she said that's basically how it's going to go. So she was like, that's why it has to be her sole decision, because she says she has to be willing to deal with the stress of that, of carrying the world on her shoulders, as she called it, carrying the world on her shoulders for the outcome of this human being, because the only person that people are going to be looking at, and the only person that people are going to be pointing the finger at, is going to be her. So that's that. And you know what? I couldn't argue with her. And that's what people need to realize. These young people, they see everything that's going on. They see everything that we're talking about, and they're drawing their own conclusions, and they're extremely intelligent. These young Gen Zs, these Gen Alphas, they're incredibly intelligent. Incredibly intelligent. And I think that in future, people are going to be stunned with what the world looks like, especially once Gen Alpha starts getting really active. The world is going to be stunned by them. Stunned by them. Because they're going to shut all this shit down. And people are going to be begging them to have kids. People are going to be begging them to have kids. People are going to be begging them to get married. People are probably going to even be begging them to interact with each other, because they're already fed up. They're already fed up, and they're already like, I'm paving my own way, doing my own thing, because this stuff here y'all got going on is ridiculous. And she also talked about the systemic oppression aspect too, because she's just like, so I'm going to be stuck holding the financial bill for a child in an economy that sucks, and children often lead to poverty. And then also, I told her, I've always told her, just like I tell y'all, about facts and stats. Stick to the facts and stats. So she was just like, Ma, you taught me to stick to the facts and stats. She said the facts and stats are not good for making this type of decision. It's just not. She said whether you're married, whether you're not married, or whether, it just seems problematic. It just seems problematic. And she said, and you can't predict another human being. Okay. She was like, it's a gamble, and you taught me not to gamble.